we ready? Do I have to hit this thing? You should. Okay. All right, call to order. Please rise for the pledge. Alderman Howden.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the opportunity to gather together as community leaders and fellowship as citizens alike. Tonight we just want to come forward to you, God, Father God, and just lift up the mayor in our spirits. We pray for healing of everyone that's involved in this, and just ask that he's in everyone's thoughts and prayers, and that you lift him up. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. All right. Mayor Milton is unable to attend tonight, and I'll be acting as president and be running the meeting, and will maintain representation of Ward 1 and be voting tonight as normal, right? Madam Clerk, will you please do a roll call?
Schultz.
Here.
LeBlanc.
Here.
Denham.
Here.
Cooper.
Here.
Howden.
Here.
Lucas.
Changed the order up, didn't they? All right, next is the, wait, where are we? We're right here. I was on the wrong page. First, we're going to do, what are we doing here? Awards. Okay, it's Employee of the Month. Director Powell will be presenting Ethan Holly of Utilities Department as Employee of the Month. So come on down. There's Kendall.
All right, good evening. On behalf of the Mayor, Board of Aldermen, City Administrator, and City staff, it is my honor to announce Utilities Assistant Director Ethan Hiley as the City of Branson's July 2025 Service and Excellence Employee of the Month. Ethan stands out through his consistent support, positive attitude, and collaborative spirit. He approaches every project with calm determination and a problem-solving mindset. This year, he played a key role in coordinating the Bay Saver cleanout at the landing, successfully managing unexpected challenges and saving the city thousands by organizing the right personnel and equipment. Ethan's dedication, resourcefulness, and steady leadership make him a valued and reliable team member across departments. Congratulations, Ethan.
That's good. Oh, Glenn, I don't have to duck down.
Yeah, Cooper smells good.
It's Downy Fresh, baby.
Got his mayor shirt on tonight.
Did you get yours?
I told him, I'm gonna be, I'll go get my good britches on. Okay, Chief Schmidt, are you here? There he is, right there. All right. Chief Schmidt will present Amber Edie of the Police Department as the Special Commendation Employee of the Month. There she comes. Woo.
I did it again!
All right. It is my pleasure, Board of Aldermen, and on behalf of the City Administrator and the rest of the city staff, to present you with your second Employee of the Month award in 3 months. So this one is for an incident on March 29th, 2025, when you all responded to a suspect that was a felony suspect and barricaded himself in a residence, or armed, if I remember correctly. Yep. So after helping secure the perimeter, you then transition to the role of negotiator, of which she is specially trained as a crisis negotiator, and kept the gentleman on the line for 4 hours while our SWAT team held a perimeter. And through tactics, convinced him that his best way to make it out safely would be working with our negotiator. And she did a phenomenal job of keeping him on the line, remaining compassionate, calm, and composed, and building such a rapport that when he did agree to put his gun down and come up and give up, it was on the condition that he surrender and be arrested by Officer Edie. And for that, we are eternally grateful because we didn't have to shoot any shots, use any less lethal. It resulted in a peaceful outcome, and it is the reason that we train and that we have the sources that we do. And it's phenomenal to have a negotiator that can help us get them out safely because we do value human life. So with that, as usual, I'm extremely proud of you. Congrats.
Yeah, man. I know.
So one thing that I want to say is this incident obviously was a team effort with patrol, command. There was so many people that deserve recognition besides me. The main one I want to also recognize is K-9 Officer Brendan Gamble. He was right there with me, allowing me to focus all my energy on talking to this individual while he kept in touch with me, with Incident Command, with the perimeter team, everybody that was there. So he also deserves recognition because I couldn't have focused on what I needed to focus on if it wasn't for him doing the role that he did. So, thank you.
Congratulations, Edie. Thank you, Chief. Well, we all attended, well, not all of us. A lot of us were at the State of the State luncheon. When was that? A week ago? About a week ago. And the governor was there and presented this bill. Right here's the bill. Senate Bill number 348, designating Branson as the official live entertainment capital for the state of Missouri right there. Yeah. Pretty cool. Representative Seitz worked hard to get that thing across the line, and that's pretty cool. Did you want to comment, Chief? Oh, you want to get a picture? Are you the staff photographer tonight? Chief Martins. You're the guy. Okay. All right. What qualifies the chief as a photographer?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing? He's the only one with an iPhone or what? Oh. God, I can't believe I'm getting friction for having a good smelling shirt up here. Doesn't everybody love a good Downy fabric softener sheet or not? It is precious. All right, here we go. All right, please, public comment. Please note there will be a 5-minute limit on all items listed on the agenda. This is the public comment section of the Board of Aldermen meeting. At this time, the board will hear the citizens who have signed up in the order they are listed. Please note the clerk will let speakers know when they have 30 seconds left, and a notification will sound when their time is up. We ask that speakers wrap up their comments upon hearing the 30-second warning. If the speaker would like a board member to bring an item from the consent agenda down for additional discussion, please note this request during comments. Please come to the freestanding microphone in front of us here to address the board. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
Yes, sir, we have 2 speakers. The first speaker is Michael London, speaking on Santa's wish for the city is to revive, pass, and implement Bill 5599.
Hello, Michael London.
Celebratory mood, and I'm not going to change it even a little bit. Michael London, 1620 Miller Drive. Ho, 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 you Branson believers. I'm Santa Claus, of course. Technically just a concerned Branson citizen in suspiciously colorful attire. But who's checking the ID of a man who once helped save Ozark Mountain Christmas from the clutches of some bah humbug Grinches? A few years back, while certain folks were sneaking Ozark Mountain Christmas out of our ads faster than a sugar cookie disappears from Santa's workshop, over 40 business people representing over 100 businesses rallied like elves on espresso and prompted Mayor Larry Milton to officially decree that Ozark Mountain Christmas is and will be the official name of Branson's holiday season. This Santa was a happy camper even in the freezing cold North Pole. But now, good grief gumdrops, we've got problems. At the last Marketing Oversight Committee, which we attended, I watched 2 aldermen and the mayor have to delicately ask, practically beg, the CVB for Branson's music shows to be properly featured in our future ads. Even worse, much worse, at the TCED meeting on the same day, I nearly spilled my hot cocoa. The fall ads for this year were shown and approved without a single Christmas mention. This happened even though Ozark Mountain Christmas is critical for our community's success, and it starts just weeks into the fall. This town is stuck in a never-ending circular marketing loop that just keeps ignoring 2 of our biggest assets, Ozark Mountain Christmas and live music shows. Folks, this isn't just bad marketing. It's like giving kids red striped socks for Christmas and calling it a win. Now, I'm thankful the CVB had the good sense to respond to Santa's recent plea to market Ozark Mountain Christmas during a Christmas in July TV campaign this year. But they chose the wrong network, despite the fact Santa's handout was focused on why to not choose the network they did. The real problem, our tourism strategy acts like families with kids are the only gift under the tree. But guess what? Kids from our major feeder cities are stuck in their hometowns 255 days a year because school calendars keep them far away from Branson. That leaves us relying on empty nesters and seniors to fill our restaurants, hotels, and theaters for over 2/3 of the year. Yet our past and newly proposed ads scream zip lines and roller coasters and other things that make most grandparents say, I'd rather shovel reindeer do, causing them to not see the few split seconds that might have product that appeals to them. So here's Santa's wish list for Branson. Number 1, Ozark Mountain Christmas starts November 1. Market it most of the year, if not the whole year, like we fought for before. Stop relying on the CVB as your primary and only source for critical marketing advice. They are not a neutral advisor. Number 3, bring in an independent consultant. Mayor Milton's bill number 5599 was supposed to do just that, but it got kidnapped by some scallywags. Pass a new version of that smartly crafted bill so that our marketing no longer has family-only tunnel vision. Number 4, design a major part
30
of
seconds.
the city's marketing plan to exclusively welcome seniors to Branson like the VIPs they are. They've got endless time and lots of money to come here in droves all year round, and that will help ensure we all have a very merry Ozark Mountain Christmas and a very, very prosperous year. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next speaker.
Our final speaker is Gary Groman, speaking on It's Not Your Grandma's Google Search Anymore.
Folks, I generally write my column over the weekend because I have to have it in by 10 o'clock on Monday. Don't ask me why for a Friday paper, but that's just the way it is. I typically don't look at the agenda until Tuesday because they give me till Wednesday to get a news article done. This morning when I was talking to Alderman Dunham, she pointed out that one of the agenda items tonight is going to be appointments to the TCED. Didn't write this column for that, but the information that's in the column is certainly something that you might want to be considering. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and read the column rather than just try to turn it around and get it out of there. The Old Seagull strongly believes that the way people search for travel and vacation information on the internet, as well as what they expect in response, is rapidly changing. The typical approach in the past was to enter an inquiry into Google, get a list of websites that Google said would answer your question. A couple planning a trip to Branson might enter an inquiry, quote, "I'm going to Branson, Missouri with my wife. We are in our 60s and want to see the 5 most popular shows. Please give me a list of the 5 that you think would best meet our needs." First, the primary source of the answer to that inquiry was Google. Second, the responses were essentially a list of websites with sponsored ads, those are paid for, at the top, followed by organic listings sorted according to how Google evaluated the site and its content. You would then have to go through the list, each of them, to determine if the answer to your question was even in a list. Sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. That was the old way of doing it. Ignoring chat AI for the moment, AI now affects even the basic Google search with an AI overview at the top of its search results. The Google result for the above inquiry, the one I just read you, was in order: Sight and Sound Theaters, Clay Cooper Theater, the Haygoods, Hughes Brothers Theater, and Dolly Parton Stampede. That was 5. I asked for 5. They gave me 5. This was followed by a list of website links such as Explore Branson, Branson.com, and Branson Tourism Center. So if I wanted to go beyond those specific recommendations, I'd have to go to those specific sites and see if they answered my question or not. But Seagull, even if someone goes beyond the AI overview to the list in Google, won't they be influenced to one extent or another by the specific AI overview to the answer to the questions and give those shows an advantage? Talking to myself. Surely that's a rhetorical question. Of course they will. They're aware of those things. This becomes even more important when the increasing popularity of using AI chatbots for obtaining travel information is considered, rather than relying on the standard Google searches. The Old Seagull made the same inquiry to 6 of the more popular AI chatbots: Claude 4, Sonnet, Deep 6, Google Gemini, GPT 4.0, and Grok, and Perplexity. He then ranked each show according to its position, assigning a 5 for every time it was listed as number 1, and decreasing the ranking to a 1 for every time it was listed as number 5. There was a total of 7 times 5, 35 possible. To an Old Seagull, the results were surprising. Out of 35 possible responses, only 14 Branson shows were listed in those are the top chatbots, folks. It's not me making it up. It's not taking a popularity poll. That's what's there. Only 14 of Branson's shows appeared in the results. All 7 of all of them, the total. Of those 14, only 2, the Haygoods and Presley's Country Jubilee, appeared on the list for 5 or more of those chatbots. In other words, those other 12, they appeared in different ones, but they didn't appear on all 5 of them. Out of the possible 35 points, only 3. The Haygoods with 28, Presley's Country
30 seconds.
Jubilee with 20, and Clay Cooper with 10, had 10 or higher. Out of 35 possible points, only 3 of them had 10 or higher. But 2 of Branson's most popular shows, Sight and Sound and Dixie Stampede, were missing, and the reason they're missing is because they have a hell of a lot more money to spend in marketing than most of our shows have. The average show better be concentrating on, and folks, when you look at the Haygood show, that is remarkable. That's not BS, that's fact.
That was a mic drop. Look at him. He just gave us a look and walked off. Thanks, Gary. All right, next is the consent agenda. Are there any items that any member of the board or staff would like to have moved down from the consent agenda to ask additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I would like item number 5 to be pulled down from the consent agenda and placed as the second item on the regular agenda.
All right. Madam Clerk, would you please read the items on the consent agenda as amended?
Your Honor, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes for the June 17, 2025 special meeting and June 24, 2025 regular meeting. Acknowledge receipt of advisory park board minutes for the April 15, 2025 regular meeting. Acknowledge receipt of monthly contract report from June 2nd, 2025 to June 30th, 2025. Final reading of bill number 6557, an ordinance to readopt a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain officials in order to remain in compliance with Missouri Ethics Commission requirements. And final reading of bill number 6561, an ordinance amending section 18-7 of the Branson Municipal Code to create an exception to the appeals process for dangerous buildings. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda as amended.
All right, do I have a motion approving all items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, will you now provide a roll call vote for the consent agenda?
Schultz,
Yes.
LeBlanc,
Yes.
Denham, Cooper,
Yes.
Howden,
Yes.
Lucas. The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, this is the final reading of bill number 6560, an ordinance amending chapter 18, buildings and building regulations, repealing and replacing article 10, dangerous buildings, division 1 generally of the Branson Municipal Code to clarify the process of addressing dangerous buildings.
All right, you've heard the first reading of bill number 6560. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll have an update from Solon McGee.
Thank you. So after the last meeting, Alderman Scholes approached me and asked about some changes that he felt like could be made to this to make it a little bit more clear. I found some of those to have some merit, and so we took a look at it and made some changes. Some of these changes were my own. Some of them were suggested by Alderman Scholes, really just providing a little more clarification. And I guess if Alderman Scholes wants to speak on some of the things that he had, that's, he can do that as well. But really just nothing substantive changing too much. One of the changes was that this was a substantive change. We took away the appeal fee. It was referenced to we just recently updated our fee schedule, and there was a reference to a building application fee, and that might have been missed in the translation there because we did change that. But we just actually eliminated that to not charge one at all. So people that want to appeal decisions will not have to pay for anything when they do that. So that's a good thing for the community. Other changes, Chad, if you could scroll through that a little bit for me. We just redefined the word building to kind of take the wording down. So you see these structures stricken from there. That's because we included structure in the definition of building. Same thing there on that top line, some of that. This change on 12 was to, prevent any argument that people that maybe, were grandfathered in under other stuff and their building just kind of was not up to code but didn't require updating to code, they wouldn't be lumped in. So it had to be something that, the building had fallen into disrepair. This one on 16, this is one that Alderman Scholl is probably coming from his engineering background. We had said previously that, any imposed loads, and he made the point that, well, any imposed loads? So I said, well, we could clarify that with just putting in, the imposed loads on a, floor or whatever that are beyond what it was, or anything that's within its design capacity. If it wasn't safe with that load, then, it would be declared a dangerous building. And then, let's see, I think these are all just, definitional changes, nothing substantive there. This one, we removed a section that talked about allowing, staff to promulgate other regulations. Probably not necessary, but we added some language that would allow them to implement procedures should certain weird circumstances arise with certain dangerous buildings. It gives staff the flexibility to implement additional procedures necessary to carry out the intent of the code. That was just a, not substantive, just changing it to say, be consistent. There was another title of another code, and we, defined it, we laid out the words differently, so it's nothing changing there. This section we cut out and moved it to another section that had similar language in it, so we kind of just consolidated it down further, and you'll see that in a second. So that language up there is consolidated into these two red sections here. Verbatim in that section, it says, if after a hearing, that's just copied and pasted from above. And then that yellow is where we removed the fee. So there's no longer a fee. And that's it. So otherwise, the code is what it was, besides those changes, what we approved at first reading last time. Any questions?
Is there anyone in the audience who want to speak on this? Questions? Any board members? Alderman Schultz. Alderman Schultz has a question, Solon.
All right.
Get ready.
No,
I thought he
it's-
might have one.
It's not a question. I just want to say thanks to our city attorney we had some great dialogues over this. He gave me a lot of education on some of the intent of these things. So I just really appreciate the whole interaction and glad we're able to get the bill over the final hump here.
I appreciate that.
So other than the fee being dropped, did I miss that? Was most of it clerical? I mean, was that that was the only substance, right, as far as the? Yeah.
The other change probably that was substantive was that we just changed the ability of the planning director to create new rules and regulations to be just procedures instead.
I got you.
So,
All right, cool. Anybody else? Yeah, Ralph?
I just want to say, someone, we kind of briefly talked about this a little earlier, but what a cooperative collaboration. Thanks, Glenn, for your efforts and you two getting together and doing that. It's the sausage being made that nobody likes to see, but it takes some time, takes some effort. But when you're cooperative and everything is, everybody's pulling in the right direction, everything gets done, and this is just proof of it. And it's just kind of more, we had that red tape initiative, and as we're going through this code, it seems like we're drudging through those red tape things that have been bogging planning down, and so hopefully this is everything moving in the right direction to get that department as clean and as clear and efficient as we can. So I applaud you guys. Thank you guys both for that.
Anybody else? Nothing? Thanks, Solon.
yeah.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, then I'd move to amend Bill 6560 to accept all those changes shown in red.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak regarding the amendment? No. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding the amendment? All right, let's vote on the amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
The result of the vote is 6-0 on the amendment.
All right, any members of the board wishing to speak regarding the bill as amended? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding the bill as amended? Madam Clerk, will you now provide a roll call vote on the bill as amended?
Lucas? Yes. Howden? Yes. Cooper?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6563, an ordinance approving the contract with Everon LLC for software subscription, maintenance, access controls, and data storage, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of bill number 6563. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and Chief Schmidt, the third.
Your Honor and members of the board, thank you. We're coming to you here today as a request for the licensing for all things Verkada in the new police station. So that's cameras, building access controls, intercoms, you name it. It's all through the Verkada system. Verkada acts much like a car dealership where they don't sell you the product directly. It comes through a vendor. Everon is the one that's been doing the installation, and as such, they're the ones that are doing the licensing. Basically, the licensing allows us to take advantage of the warranty through Verkada and any repairs, any firmware updates, all that kind of stuff. So it has to go through them. It's a multi-year contract. That's why it's coming through you all. It is $65,000 for the 5 years. However, we plan to pay for it all at once out of the building project fund that we have. So we do recommend approval of it, and pretty quickly, because they've been holding the price for us since last year on that. They did try to increase the price, but they were willing to hold off on that price increase as long as we got it through in this meeting. So the cameras have already been installed, and this is our way to make sure we can use such cameras and access control. So we are recommending a double read.
Any members of the board wishing to speak on this? So was it a better rate? The 65K was over 5 years?
Yes, sir.
And if you pay up, was it a different rate to pay up front, cheaper? Or?
No, we could have drawn it out over the 5 years, but the funding is there now as a result of the bonds that we did. So we just as soon pay it now and not have to budget for it over the course of the next 5 years.
I got you. Okay. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this? Nope. All right. Y'all want to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6563 for its final reading due to timing.
Do I have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any members on the board wishing to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none. Anybody in the audience? All right. Let's vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
I forgot I got to vote. Yeah. Go. Aye.
I knew it.
Sorry.
I got it.
You good? Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is a final reading of Bill number 6563, an ordinance approving the contract with Everon LLC for software subscription maintenance, access controls, data storage, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the final reading of Bill number 6563. Do I have a motion approving the bill?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, and first and a second. Any members on the board wishing to speak regarding the matter? Anyone in the audience? Madam Clerk, will you now provoke a roll call vote?
Schultz,
Yes.
LeBlanc,
Yes.
Denham,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Howden,
Yes.
Lucas. The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6564, an ordinance approving the intergovernmental agreement with Branson Public School District for participation in a comprehensive process with the Alcohol and Drug Abuse Prevention Team, ADAPT, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill number 6564. Do I have a motion approving the bill?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll begin staff report with Chief Schmidt again.
Your Honor, members of the board, thank you. This is our yearly MOU with the school board, who has a grant to help address alcohol and tobacco and drug abuse, especially in the youth. It's an agreement that allows them to reimburse us for overtime that we expend when we do our alcohol enforcement and targeted things along those lines. The reason the dates are kind of wonky on this, it's only July through September. It aligns with their grant budget for the school year and everything, so we'll come back to you again to renew after that. But this allows us to recoup funds that we've already expended in an alcohol operation. So we do recommend passing this. And Mike, hold your breath. This is just a single read.
Any members on the board wishing to speak regarding this? Hearing none. Anyone in the audience? All right, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
This is the first reading of Bill number 6565, an ordinance amending section 2-72 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to procedures for regular agenda.
You've heard the first reading of Bill number 6565. Do I have a motion approving the bill?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second, and a staff report from Solon. Take your time, Solon. It's fine.
Do you have, Chad, can you put the language up?
We did have that queued up, sorry.
Okay, let me pull it up here. This amendment, a couple of meetings ago, we had some some questions about time of speakers or time of public comment. And the code really was ambiguous. It kind of put me on the spot, asked me some legal advice, and I was like, oh man, the code probably needs to be amended because it's not really that clear. So we went to the code and looked at it and decided, okay, how can we make this more clear? So starting up here, thank you, Chad, at section 2-71, the title itself. So part of the questions that were raised in that meeting were, well, does the regular agenda apply to special meetings? Well, it does. It sounds kind of weird because it's the regular agenda, but the regular agenda applies to regular meetings and special meetings. So we just added the title there, so future boards, you all might not be around, in 20 years, whatever. And so that way everybody doesn't have the same question whenever it's on there. I gave 20 years, okay, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good run.
Marshall will be. He's the only
true.
one.
Okay, all right, so sheesh, that was a hot topic, I shouldn't have said that. So if you could scroll down a little bit for me. In number 4 here, what we wanted to do is clarify, so in the old code, it's hard to tell what this time limit that was set by the mayor would be. Was it a time limit for the whole meeting? Was it a time limit for individual speakers? It just wasn't clear. And so I couldn't give an answer on the spot because it wasn't clear. So, to make it more clear, we've got here that the presiding officer can set the time limit, and it's for the time for each individual speaker. And it has to be in equal increments, right? So we want to treat every speaker that comes to the board fair. We want them all have the same amount of time. And if there's 1,000 people there, then the mayor can, or whoever's presiding can limit the, amount of time given to each speaker to accommodate whatever time we have for the meeting. We can't be here for 3 days straight. So maybe it's 1 minute, maybe it's 5 minutes, just depends on, what the presiding officer chooses. The other thing that we wanted to clarify is when they can and can't, kind of get in and tell the speaker that, man, that's off topic or whatever. So we added some language about, people speaking if they're repeating things. We want to be sensitive to the time of the people here. If they've said something once, great, and so there's an option if the presiding member wants to, say, hey, that's repetitive, let's move on to the next thing or wrap up the time. Also, it has to be germane to the item on the floor. So you can't come in and talk about, McDonald's when we're trying to discuss some, deal unrelated to that. And so whatever's on the floor, it's got to be relevant to that. And then just in, we just clarified there that the board members can also respond to the item on the floor. The last thing there, we added a section 6, special meetings called pursuant to section 2-63 shall follow the same procedures as outlined in this section, and the presiding officer and alderman shall have the same powers and privileges as outlined above. So just clarified a little bit more again that this is the agenda procedure that's used for special meetings, just so we don't have that question come up again. Probably a good thing. Any questions?
So I think this came up because, was this during the special meeting and there was a lot of people wanting to get up and the mayor requested that we put a time on it, right?
Yeah, and you know, there was some question about what the code said, and so we just decided this is probably better to clear it up, not have that issue in the future, so everyone's on the same page. And so I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, as long as, if it's equal time for everybody, it's the same for everybody.
Yep.
Yeah. Any aldermen want to have anything to add? Artie?
Thank you. What I'm sensing in this is we are, in fact, going to be limiting the public in speaking.
No.
So
Go ahead.
So as of now, like for example, you saw earlier where they came up and gave 5 minutes. All this is saying is that the mayor can set a time limit. So if we have 100 people show up, you know, if there's no time limit set, someone could filibuster the meeting, right? So
But that doesn't apply during public comment. That's during agenda items, correct?
that's right. So this is
So public comment is, we're not saying, oh, there's 100 public commenters, we're going to change it. I think that stands. This is only like after an agenda item, anybody in the public want to speak, and if like 10 people get up, he goes, okay, let's keep it at 2 minutes so we're not here an hour. Right? Is that
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, because I've been on the board for a while now, and some of us have, and I've also sat out in the audience a number of times for years. In the past, the determination whether to set a 5-minute time limit on a person, because generally a member of the public can speak indefinitely, I guess, on an item unless it's limited by the presiding officer. So there's always been this precedent of saying if there are 10 or more speakers, like you said, 10 speakers. So I would like to somehow maybe find a compromise position where we codify that it's a number, as opposed to maybe someone doesn't like the topic, or because we had 4 speakers at that special meeting, or 4 or 5, something like that. It didn't rise to the level of 10 or 50 like we had during the COVID meetings, which made sense to limit the time. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't want it to be arbitrary. I'd like it to be based on some kind of metric. And the precedent that I've always understood is that even if it's on an item where you don't, because when you do public comment, you're listing your name, so we know if there's 10 or more speakers. But in the past, the mayor has said, is anybody in the audience going to speak on this? And then we can do a count of hands. So I don't know how we do that. I don't know if there's an amendment, but I would just like it to be set based on some kind of metric as opposed to just arbitrary.
You mean, yeah.
I'm not married to this. This is a proposal staff brought. This just provides equal time. If you guys want to change it, that's your prerogative. You guys are the ones that make the decision. So, certainly the mayor could allow, in that case where there were 4 people, he could have allowed each one of them, 25 minutes if we had the time for that. I think this just gives them the flexibility, shorter or longer, depending on however many people are signing up. So, but if you want to set a specific time.
Kathy, you have thoughts?
I guess my recommendation is we were, again, just trying to provide some consistency and expectations for the public when they come to testify. If you guys, I would suggest, it's up to you. The easiest way to do it is we could pass it like it is, and then at the next meeting, come back after we've had some time to consult with you all on what you think the number should be. Because otherwise, staff, we're going back and picking a number out of thin air. And I don't want to bring something back again, and you guys go, no, 10's not the right number, let's do 7. So instead of legislating on the fly, my recommendation is to pass as is tonight, and then we can confer with you subsequent to that and bring back an amendment to that.
Clay?
Sir?
I guess my recommendation would be the same, only different. I think that we just table it until Larry gets back and give us all an opportunity to talk about it and get his input on it at the same time.
So the other thing that I'll tell you is that, with that time limit, Marshall, for example, I was just thinking about it after you said it. There may be a topic that we want them to have more time, so putting a time limit can kind of be a detriment in some ways. But, giving the mayor or the presiding authority, if it's Clay or whoever, that flexibility might be nice.
So the presiding officer still, under what I was proposing, the presiding officer still has that ability to, if he didn't want to apply it, it's just, it can't be applied arbitrarily. It has to be applied if there's 10 or more.
I see what you're saying.
Gotcha, okay.
And I don't,
Well, what I was going to say is, it's kind of one of those things where we kind of know the temperature of a topic as to like how many people will participate in it. Like when we're talking about mask mandates, like you knew that was going to bring a lot of people. They were all here. But, when we're talking about something that's maybe a little less important but still has some meaningful discussion, we don't have to limit it as much. And I think that's, it could be one of those, a call for the at the moment kind of thing with the input of the board. I mean, I think we still have the ability to speak into that. So therefore, it's not one arbitrary person making that without the input of the board. And I think that, gives that freedom and flexibility to not limit it or have a number that limits it, but really just to the feel of, what the temperature is in the room. And I think that's probably an easier way to kind of navigate it without having so hard restrictions or hardline restrictions on it.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
Just one more thing, I'll just push back just softly here, which is we have a mayor and presiding officer for a reason, and the structure of our city calls for, he has the discretion to preside over that and to use his judgment for that. And so I would imagine you guys would all trust who's sitting in the mayor's chair presiding over the meeting to exercise that judgment judiciously. So that's just a little bit of rebuttal there.
Yeah, I mean, I do hear what you're saying, but I hear what you're saying too. I mean, I feel like it's never been abused or under abuse or one way or the other. I recall the mayor saying, hey, if somebody speaks on something that you're going to speak on, we'd ask that you not get up and say the same thing, and people have graciously bowed out of comment if they've heard somebody say the same thing. And I can't even count on one hand how many times that we've limited it. Right? It's rarely happened. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying it's not a bad idea. I'm just.
Clay, I'd like to make a motion to table this.
Got a motion and a second to table the item. Alderman Schultz.
Can table it till when?
Well, it is contingent on something, it's just not necessarily a date.
Well, I'll just say procedurally, we shouldn't table something without a specific date or action. So we can either just, ask for this to come back at the next meeting with our changes, our suggestions reflected in it, or maybe staff could circulate an updated draft to see if we're ready to take it up on the floor. Those kind of things. But we should have something more specific than just table.
Well, this is a first read, so I mean, we could pass it as written,
Well,
and then with the second
come
read,
back.
That's
with
true.
any amendments to it, we can do just like we did the prior bill. So, I mean, and I'm sure everybody would have input to it, right?
I was just going to ask for the question.
I think in this case, because there's a number of opinions here, probably with differing degrees of a solution, it would be probably helpful if we gave some specific guidance to staff and not just send them away and tell them to come back, right?
100%.
So can we maybe, if it's all right, Mr. Chairman, can we talk about this just for a minute or more, two more, so that we can
Yeah.
see if we have a common ground for how we might modify, or ask staff to make some recommendations to us for modifications?
So I don't know that a time limit like Marshall's saying is a bad idea. I don't think I'm opposed to that. We just need to come up with the time. And from what I understand, you're saying, if there's X number of people, then we would set the time, or can the mayor always have that option?
Well, I would say that if it was less, my personal opinion is that if it was less than 10 people and the mayor wanted to limit it, then that should be a vote of the alderman. That's just my personal opinion. Because I understand what's being said tonight about this presiding officer, but at the same time, we're being asked as aldermen to vote on this change, right? So we're making that decision now. So I wouldn't really ever be in favor of limiting more than 5 or less than 5 minutes, because that's the amount of time that's given. Now, during COVID, there was a time where it was limited to 3 minutes. We had 50 speakers. So I'm just looking for a little bit more clarity. And to be honest with you, this is just my own personal opinion, a little less flexibility in this, because I think it shouldn't be arbitrary, but it should be based on some set metrics.
Marshall, would you accept the idea of, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Would you accept the idea that if the alderman simply approved it when there was a request for a time limit, so that it had the ultimate flexibility? In other words, you know, if we see that there's going to be a big group, the mayor would say, Alderman, you know, I think it's time to limit the amount of time here. I'd like to propose 5 minutes, and the alderman would have to approve that. That way, you kind of accommodate all those situations you describe. You don't have to come up with a fixed template.
So Chad, can you scroll down on this a little bit? So back up so we can see, because I actually think this already accommodates that. So if you read, let's see.
I think what it says now, if I read it correctly, it says the presiding officer or the alderman.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
That's not what I'm saying.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying that the presiding officer, with the approval of the alderman, can set a time limit for comment. That way we don't have to sit and guess all the possible circumstances. I mean, 10 people to me sounds reasonable now, but maybe there will be a case where some other circumstance prevails. And if the aldermen just want to have, you know, some say in under what conditions that happens, rather than trying to write the conditions in the ordinance, if it's simply said with the approval of the alderman, you kind of accommodate all of them.
I don't mean this with any disrespect, but it feels like we're just kind of beating the minutes for, I mean, it's never been abused. Since I'm in my third term, I've never seen this be abused from the Mayor Milton. So I don't know, are we overthinking this, or?
Well, I think once we codify the ability to do this, that you want to be fairly solid on how it's going to work, because right now we don't have that. And I would just say that maybe this is a worthwhile thought too. You know, our current ordinances, we prescribe a certain number of things in our ordinances about how we're going to run the meeting. And then we specifically say, if it isn't addressed in those ordinances, then we go back to Robert's Rules of Order, right? And in Robert's Rules of Order, we have the ability as a body to say, you know, we're going to limit the amount of time that the public has to speak under these circumstances for whatever reason to this amount of time. It can be a motion made at that meeting under Robert's rules that readily provides for that type of action. So the ability to do this has always been there within Robert's Rules of Order, but once we move it up here into our ordinances, then it takes on a different form, because then we must be more descriptive about exactly what we're trying to do, because we're literally trying to override Robert's Rules of Order with a specific rule of our own, which is fine, but then I think we should be very specific.
And to Clay's point, just if you look at the language that we were striking, the very last sentence, it actually you guys already had this language in there where the mayor could limit it. So currently, he has the ability to limit the time. We just wanted to clarify what time he was limiting. Is it the whole discussion? Because you don't really want the whole discussion being limited, because you would leave out members of the community. If you said, we're only going to speak about this for an hour and there's 500 people there, well, there's going to be a lot of people that don't get to talk. So the reason why we're doing this is to it's not to give additional power to the mayor. They already have that. It's already in the code. It says the presiding officer may set a time limit for discussion. We're taking that out and saying, yeah, he can set one, but it's got to be equal for everyone.
Yeah, but if you do as Alderman Schultz is recommended, and by every time he requests to do that, we have to vote on it, then you're taking that power away from him.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting you have a vote. I think that just adds an extra layer and burden to the meetings.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, I mean, the code says he has the power, but if we change it to say every time he requests a change, we have to vote on it, then you're really not, he doesn't really have the power.
That's right. And the other
So-
thing that you want to take into account is this is an individual that the people have elected, whoever it may be, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you don't trust the guy at this seat, then that's, we got a bigger problem than this.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I agree with Alderman LeBlanc's comments earlier, so I asked for the question, please.
Well, what is the question of the motion of tabling it? Because that's what we've got on the board, right?
Was there a second to that? Mm-hmm. Oh, there was a
Wasn't there,
second.
Hillary?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess we're going to vote on tabling it.
But there was a specific timeline that was, I just want to make a comment to this. Like, I think this ordinance overall was just to create a little more continuity between what was a regular session and what was a special session. And I think we're kind of like maybe over reading into what the intent or the precise intent of this ordinance was. And, you know, we're kind of stretching it. But, you know, I see it, what Solon said is that it doesn't limit any speakers. It just identifies the time at which we're going to allow those speakers to occur. And, you know, that's one thing that I know the mayor and this board has always been about is transparency and giving people the ability to speak. And even if it's limited to 5 minutes, you know, there's still further discussion that occurs, and a lot of the topics are kind of regurgitated over and over again, so we really get a lot of it. So I think we should just move forward and vote on it because this is the first read, and any amendments or anything else, we can make those adjustments on the second read.
So do we need to put a date on the tape when we're bringing it back? Is that where we're at?
Well, I don't know if I want to step in and or if Hillary wants to, but I think you need to either vote on the motion or, you know, you got to vote on the motion or amend the motion if you're going to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I will withdraw my second.
Okay.
Clay,
Yes.
I will withdraw my second.
Already, okay.
So we would need the motioner to withdraw as well.
So we make a motion on him withdrawing his second?
If we're going to redo this motion, just that gets it off the table and you could reset. And maybe this time use the word postpone instead of table, just because that pushes it to another meeting, if that's what you're going to do.
Or put forward some other motion, either way.
So do we need what do we need right now?
Clay,
Huh?
So-
If Artie withdraws, I withdraw with my motion.
Thank you, thank you.
It never happened. This never happened. So now what?
Now, I could call for the question, please.
Okay. So we're going to vote on the item as it is, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Just, if I may, just procedurally, a call for the question requires a second and a vote, if that's really what we're
Second.
going to do.
Are we doing a roll call or all in favor?
It is up to you.
Well, you're now just voting on calling the question, so I think normally an
Oh.
oral vote would be fine.
Okay, so we're voting on call of the question? Is that what we're doing? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All opposed? Anybody opposed? All right, so now we're going to vote on agenda item number 9 as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Anybody opposed? Oh. Huh? Got a nay from Artie.
Okay, so the result of the vote is 5 yes, 1 no, the no being Alderman Lucas. Motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6566, an ordinance approving the addendum with Southwest Missouri Council of Governments, SIMCOG, for comprehensive planning services and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill Number 6566. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll begin a report from Mark what is it?
Calusi.
Calusi. I always say Colossi. It's Calusi.
Yes, sir.
All right. Calusi.
All right. Good evening, Your Honor, and lady and gentlemen of the board, and Madam Administrator. It's great to be with you this evening. I have an item before you for consideration to consider this approval. You authorized on November the 26th the ability to enter into an agreement with SIMCOG to allow comprehensive planning services to adopt a new comprehensive plan for the city. What this particular amendment or addendum does is it just clarifies the duties wherein. It allows just the further enhancement to clarify duties, making this be more efficient so we can ultimately bring to you a new plan. This offers a unique opportunity. We're about the midway point in the development of the plan. A comprehensive plan is a long-term strategy for a community to work on the future development and the growth of a community. So as I'm before you today, I just ask you to consider, and I humbly ask you to do this, would you dare to dream with me? Doesn't matter whether or not you do this now or later, but I ask you to just consider closing your eyes and just envisioning what you think the future of this city looks like. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is develop a plan in order to get there. So we ask certain questions. Are we interested in growing? If so, how? Are we going to be strengthening our urban core and entertainment district? Are we strengthening our neighborhoods, services, and infrastructure? Are we going to continue to align our community's values and decisions that we make? Do we prioritize being a world-class destination for people to visit us from all throughout the world, right here in the heart of the Ozarks? And can we continue to enhance this place as being a great place to live, work, and play? This is just a small snapshot of some of the feedback we've gotten through the public implementation process that we've done so far. It's important that we do a robust public input policy in order that we do develop a plan that enhances and captures all the things in development of a plan. Your board and Kathy has adopted and assembled a first-class team in order to get us to that destination. In order to update a comprehensive plan, it can be divided into 5 key steps: the information gathering phase, studies and analysis, documentation preparation, public policy making, and then ultimately implementation phase. We kicked off this project by first looking at a variety of different data steps or data pieces, including population data, economic data, and in this particular chart, you see where we're looking at how far we're growing. It allows us to maybe project into the future, not only where we've been, but also where we're going. And this ultimately can allow us to look into the future and project where we're going. We can do this in a number of different ways. We have a great GIS team here at the city. We can take some of that data and apply it to a mapping. For example, the map you see on the left-hand side takes a look at the annexation history of the city. It's color-coded based on the era in which annexation has occurred throughout the city. And then you actually have the building footprints that are color-coded based on when they were developed. So not only does it take a look at the history of how the city is developed, but it also allows us to start thinking about where does this development trends take us. And when we're looking at the data, it allows us to start to piece out things that might look different or abnormal. For example, when we look at property ownership, we found that only 47% of all properties that are owned within the city have a tax bill sent to a Branson zip code. So we were like, why is that? So you can potentially even map that. So what you see on the right-hand side is a map looking at where are all our tax bills being mailed to. As you can see, there's a number of different trends you can see in the data. Although certainly there's quite a number in the Taney County area, it goes beyond that throughout the whole state. And then on the top portion of this map, it's actually throughout the entirety of the country. Not only are we looking at different data and mapping pieces, but we want to make sure that we're getting input from the public, as I mentioned earlier. We did a public survey, and we asked a whole variety of different questions. For example, as you see on the left-hand side, in your opinion, where is Branson benefiting the most by growing? It shouldn't be surprising, but you can see both the west and the east side are ranked number 1 and number 2. So it gives us a good idea of where people would like to see growth within the city limits. Then we asked to just look at ourselves in the mirror and ask, what are some things that you would like to see stay the same? So for example, we can throw a word cloud up there, but it shouldn't be surprising that some of the things and the values that we hold true, and a lot of things that are discussed in these meetings come true. Faith, family, flag, patriotism. These are all things that the community also identifies as important. So we need to make sure those continue to stay aligned with how we make these decisions. We had specific stakeholder outreach where we look at parks, open space and recreation, infrastructure and environment, transportation, economic development, housing, tourism, and land use, and be able to compile that data and start thinking through where are the specifics within each one of these factors. We've been putting the Comprehensive Planning Committee to work, and I'm glad to see several of our committee members, as well as our board members that are part of the committee here. We've done a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. We asked our committee members and even staff to host what we call kitchen table conversations. And we've done unique kind of analyses, like a suitability analysis, to think both positive and negative factors that may impact future growth decisions within the city. All these things are things which the documentation can be found on our webpage. So if you go to bransonmo.gov/plan, you can see all these reports and everything that was presented to the committee to date. So as I started, you start to think through, well, how do we actually develop the plan? So obviously, I mentioned you start to craft the plan by collecting different data sets. We start doing public engagement. We're on the cusp of actually having our very first true open house public meeting, which will be on July the 29th. This will be in the the Fall Creek Room of the Convention Center from between 3 and 7 p.m., which will be able to communicate to the public, what is a comprehensive plan and continue to collect data. Ultimately, the feedback loop will close whenever we can take all the data that was mentioned to you earlier to help us start to craft goals. Once goals are developed, we can prioritize them and start to craft our implementation plan. So to take this full circle, the reason we have this item for you today is just to kind of clean up the contract that we have with SIMCOG and allow the clarification as to how we're going to supplement SIMCOG staff and city staff to ultimately get to our implementation plan. It is through the implementation plan that will allow us to actually implement the vision that was collected throughout the entirety of the process. And although this is a super brief summary, I do continue to encourage you to follow our plan process at bransonmo.gov/plan. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mark. Hey, could you go back to that? I think it was the second or third chart with that had the red. Yeah. Can you zoom that up, Chad? The red table, or is that? Oh, you can't zoom the whole page? Yeah. That is a little, okay, there.
Larger? Or?
No, that's, that's good for me.
Okay.
Ask Artie. Look at it. Can you see that, Artie? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is. That's good stuff, Mark. That's a lot of research.
And there's a lot more, so you're more than welcome to peruse our reports. But there was actually 40 questions we asked on the survey, and this is just obviously 2 examples of that.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Anybody on the board have any comments? Huh? You can see it? All right. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
We're going to vote, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? What?
What are we voting on?
I don't know. I'm just reading the paper.
I saw his presentation, and that's great, but isn't there something about the SIMCOG contract that we're supposed to talk about? Or not?
I could provide clarification if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
So that's, it just posed an interesting timeline. So we're at the middle point in the process. We have an addendum because essentially it's just cleaning up how we can implement the third-party policies, the third-party consultant process for developing the plan. What the original contract back in November authorized the city to do was enter into an agreement with SIMCOG. Within that agreement, it already highlighted that they're going to supplement their staff with a third-party consultant, which would be a planning expertise firm. And there's many throughout the Missouri and the rest of the country that can do that. There was just some wonky things with regards to how you would handle paying that third-party consultant. So basically, it just switched, allowing the contract with that consultant to go specifically to SIMCOG instead of the city. So it just cleans up procedurally how we end up processing invoices and things like that. But it won't necessarily change the process. But since we're at the stage right now where we're going to be doing the RFP to collect the different consultants to do that, which the full authority still will remain with the city to select the consultant, it just cleans up who does what duty. So ultimately, take it full circle, what is before you today is an addendum to that contract clarifying who is going to enter into that contract with a third-party consultant, which would be SIMCOG.
Well, that's clear as mud. So we're voting on right?
It's pretty clear in the attachment for our agenda.
Yeah, we're
What the amendment was
the
for.
amendment, yeah, right. So we're voting on the amendment, yeah. Are we ready? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Your Honor, the next item is Category 2 appointments made by the governing body. Since there were the same or less applicants and vacancies on Board of Appeals, Board of Adjustment, and Industrial Development Authority, the following slate will be voted on for approval. Should anyone want a name removed to be voted on separately, please state that ahead of the vote. The following will be appointed to serve 5-year terms on the Board of Appeals until April 2030. Jennifer Blankenship, Amy Solis, Richard Corby. Rachel Corby will be appointed to fill the unexpired term of Matt Kendrick on the Board of Adjustment until April 2026. And Brian Deckard will be appointed to fill the unexpired term of Stan Helton on the Industrial Development Authority until December 2026.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the slate of appointments for Board of Appeals, Board of Adjustment, and IDA as presented?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone? Hearing none. Ready for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Hearing none.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. The board will now be voting by ballot. Due to there being more applicants than vacancies for the Tourism Community Enhancement District, the applicant receiving the most votes will be appointed to the TCED to fill the unexpired term of Cindy Mary, expiring September 2027.
Do I have a motion on the vote by ballot on the following applicants for the Tourism Community Enhancement District to fill the unexpired term of Cindy Mary until September 27? Marshall Howden, Timothy Haygood, Mike Pittman, and Greg Richards.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. The board will be voting by ballot, and the city clerk will read the results. Please vote for one applicant only. There you go. Bada boom.
Okay, I will now read the results. Alderman Lucas voted for Timothy Haygood. Alderman Cooper voted for Timothy Haygood. Alderman Howden voted for Timothy Haygood. Alderman Denham voted for Timothy Haygood. Alderman LeBlanc voted for Timothy Haygood. And Alderman Schultz voted for Timothy Haygood, so Timothy Haygood will be appointed to the TCED.
All right. Public comment? Reports. Alderman Schultz.
Yeah, as
We're going to limit your time.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
just kidding.
as long
Just a
as
little-
everybody's time is equally limited, I'm okay with that.
Just a little joke. Sorry.
Okay, so as was mentioned in the opening prayers, I think as a community, we have a number of prayers to be looking out for in this week. Obviously, prayers for Mayor Milton for his recovery, that he be back among us to do his city business. I think also our Texas flood victim families, the count's now over 100 people down there. I can't imagine being a relative or a parent waiting and waiting and waiting for what probably is an obvious confirmation, but having to go through that whole thing. And probably also for all the responders involved, including, I see our Missouri Task Force 1 just got mobilized to go down there with the recovery efforts, and that's got to be a terribly emotional thing for them to do as well. So let's keep them all in our prayers. Really enjoyed the fireworks, 4th of July here in town. Man, I think that was the best one in a lot of years. They really lit it up. We had visitors in town, and we're down on the landing, obviously, watching it, and got comments there also that it was quite incredible. So hats off to the people doing that. Strangely, since I see Pam in the audience here, strangely, the next day we're walking around just getting some exercise. The number of people that stopped us and said, "Now, what time are the fireworks tonight?" This is on the 4th. So despite all of our marketing and everything else, some people don't seem to get the message. Last meeting, I mentioned that our Branson Citizen Police Academy has a fundraiser coming up. Chief mentions this every so often in his reports. That is tomorrow, July 9th. It'll be at the Panera on 76 Country Boulevard from 4 to 8 p.m. And the trick there is you have to let them know the code so that they get credit for the sales. And it's Fund for You, F-U-N-D, the digit 4 and the letter U, Fund for You. You tell them that when you're checking out or when you're on the app or however you're doing it, 4 to 8 p.m., and they donate 20% of the net sales to our Branson Citizens Police Academy, which supports our police department, so that's great. So if you can, get out there and support that. I got the notice in the mail, and I'm sure a number of our aldermen and perhaps people in the city got it, so I would just like to highlight it. There will be a public hearing here with Liberty Electric. If you haven't followed this closely, they're proposing, according to what they sent me, they're proposing that the rate should go up 39.4%. 39.45% utility rate increase for electricity. That's a little alarming to me. So if you are also concerned and you're a Liberty Electric customer, right here in this meeting room, Wednesday, July 23rd at noon, There'll be a public hearing about that, and there'll be a chance, I presume, for you to offer your comments, potentially with time limits. I don't know, Clay might be there.
That'd probably be a good time to have one. What's the date, 23rd?
The 23rd at 12 PM. And if you look at your most recent statement, you should have had a flyer in there about this and how you can get other information, plus come to that. And then finally, I noticed in walking around town that I know it's the busy season for us as a tourist economy. The help wanted signs are up. And so anybody looking for work, I'd really encourage you to start paying attention to Branson, because there's lots of job opportunities right now, and they're not all seasonal. I was talking with the people over at Clockers. They've got year-round cook positions over there with pretty darn good pay. So there's also full-time jobs without seasonal layoffs available. So if you're in the market, take a serious look at Branson. We'd love to have you here supporting our economy. That's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Alderman LeBlanc.
Yes, prayers and well wishes to Mayor Milton, and also the people of Texas. It's just kind of interesting. You kind of, we're here in the Midwest and relatively feel safe here. And, me and my wife were discussing something over lunch, and she informed me that some really good friends of ours, her sister's husband and two of their kids were involved in that flood and didn't make it. So you never know how close that is. And it just kind of hit me different, because you kind of just feel safe here in Branson. And the reality of it is you just never know when it's that time, it's that time. Also went to the fireworks downtown and agree with Glenn. What a spectacular show it was. And it just seemed like it was going to go on and on and on and on. So that was really exciting. Had all the grandkids up and they were watching, and it was just a great time. It was really just a festive time. And what a way to kick off, 249 years to start 250 years, a little less than a year from now. And, as it is, we're recognized as one of the two cities that will be celebrating the 250th in the state of Missouri. So, I feel like we have, not just as a community government, but also as a community at whole, to really live up to that expectation. And I really am looking forward to, the community getting behind that 250th year, because it is a big deal. It's, for the Army just had a birthday this year. It's 250th year, and having served and being a veteran, there's a lot of pride in what you sign up for. And so I look forward to what we do and what we uncover there. And so I encourage everybody to get involved in that. And let's go Branson.
Alderman Denham.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Alderman Cooper, for your leadership tonight. You did a great job running the meeting. I just want to continue to thank Kathy and Alex for their leadership. All the staff reports, our agenda, everything is just so clear. It makes it so much nicer to be able to call you, ask questions, and come in and have discussions on these agenda items. And then also for the 4th of July, it was fantastic in our neighborhood. Got to come and check us out, Ward 3. We've got our neighborhood all ordering from Amazon. That truck comes by with red, white, and blue deliveries almost on a daily basis. We're lighting the streets up, and they put on a show that was comparable to any of the big shows that were put on. So let's get the competition going. Get your red, white, and blue lights from Amazon. Decorate your houses, your yards, your trees.
Alderman Howden.
Hey, I just want to let everybody know that our Branson's tribute to Glenn Campbell is going to be this Sunday at 5 p.m. at the Hughes Theater, which was the old Roy Clark Celebrity Theater and the first theater that Glenn performed in Branson. We're about sold out, guys, so if you want a ticket, I would get it. Proceeds are going to the Alzheimer's Association, which is a disease that afflicted Glenn, and has took a lot of loved ones from people, so we're going to be able to write them a really nice check at the end of that. Some incredible performers, Neil McCoy, Barbara Fairchild, the Lennon Sisters. I mean, it's going to be a chock full, amazing event. So I really hope you guys get to come out and see that. And then I'll wrap up with saying happy birthday to my beautiful wife.
Oh, I wonder why she was gracing us here tonight. Artie?
Our fireworks were great. I watched them from afar. We had a great seat up behind Mercy Hospital. And we were far enough away that we didn't contend with the smoke and the loud noise, but we still got to see them and met a young couple with their 2 little boys, and they came up, and I tried to get one of them to sit in my lap, and he said, no, I want to sit in Nana's lap. So he went over and sat in Nancy's lap. But it was cool. We had a great night, and it was a beautiful evening for it, too. It really was. The weather was great. And with respect to the situation in Texas, that does hit close to home. During the aftermath of Hurricane Ian in Florida, I was one of the chaplains that worked with Samaritan's Purse, went down there, and you don't come back the same from those things. You really don't. But it is something. They are still looking for volunteers if anybody wants to take off and go to Texas. Staff, you have my approval. You can just take the rest of the week off and go. But seriously, it is something that we definitely need to keep them in our prayers, because no parent should ever have to bury their child. Downtown's looking good. Michael, you're doing a good job in spite of yourself. Appreciate all you guys are doing. Thank you to the rest of the staff for keeping us afloat. And thank you to all y'all.
Is that the end?
That's all I got to say about it.
Thank you, Artie. Kathy, you have anything?
Just one thing to add, on behalf of everyone at City Hall that I am privileged enough to get to speak for from time to time, I want to send heartfelt blessings out to our mayor, who I have no doubt he is watching this from his hospital room tonight, and we are holding down the fort. Everything's going as scheduled and as planned, and we miss you, and we hope to see you here back real soon. Thank you.
That's about all I have, too. Prayers for the mayor and Leanne, because I'm sure this is tough on Leanne for sure, and she's right there by his side. And I do, like I told the mayor, I said, look, I don't want your job, but I'll do the best I can. And so far, I'm really enjoying the closer parking spot. This is a nice perk. So even if when he does come back, I'd like to see if I could keep that parking spot. We'll have a vote on it, kind of see how it goes. Yeah. Okay. All right, that's it, right? Let's see here. Do I have a motion to go into closed executive session?
Your Honor, I move to go into closed executive session pursuant to 610.021.1 RSMO for legal and confidential or privileged communications between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, we will now provide a roll call vote.
Schultz,
Yes.
LeBlanc,
Yes.
Denham,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Howden,
Yes.
Lucas. Result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries.
The board will now move into closed executive session and will return to the council chambers once executive session is over to adjourn the Board of Aldermen regular meeting.